Okay, yo, made it back before 3. Nice. Cool. So yeah, I promised you guys last week that I'd create an animation on QuickSort because we kind of just glossed over it. And yeah, I sort of tried to explain why it's somewhat okay to gloss over it, but it is, I think it's good nonetheless for us to cover it. And since you guys are a bit ahead, I don't think we have to make those kinds of sacrifices. So I'll cover it in the animation. We probably won't program it. If we have some time at the end of the course, then that's one of the first things we would do is program up QuickSort properly. I could also just send you guys a Rex tester with the code in it so that you guys can play around with it rather than us writing it in class. But yeah, let's just start with the animation and go from there. Ooh, wait. Okay, good, I did. Yeah, I was looking at our really horrible website, mostly just as an excuse to rickroll myself, because that song is actually really nice. But it has some bearing on what we'll learn about later. That's why that's open. Okay, but before we get into chapter 4 properly, I know it's been a long time coming. We're just going to start by going through this QuickSort animation. If you can understand at least the steps, so you don't necessarily have to know how to program it from scratch, right? Rather understand the steps that QuickSort goes through, the sort of flow of the algorithm. If you want more detail, on your textbook in page 79, you can see a really good summary of exactly how it works. And this is a very common question. Like, I don't know if you guys know tech companies like the Googles and Microsofts and whatever, if they're hiring a developer, they'll usually do a coding interview. And QuickSort is one of the most common questions for these coding interviews. So there are billions of online resources, okay, not billions, but many, many online resources about QuickSort, okay? So there's lots of other sources. But yeah, let's spend a little bit of time on it. I am recording, so that's good. Let me open up the chat so I can see what you guys are saying. And minimize this. And yeah, let's get started. So just try to follow the general flow of the algorithm. So in order to analyze a sorting algorithm and to explain a sorting algorithm, it's best to do it by example, right? As we found with bubble sort. And so I've got an array up here, quite a long array, 2, 8, 7, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is this? 7 items in our array. So an array with 7 items in it. Yeah, the indexes 0, 1, 2, so on, right? We start counting at 0. That's the important thing to remember there. Okay, and we're just going to use QuickSort to sort this array, right? And hopefully that'll give you an idea of the algorithm so you can understand it's not too intimidating. Before we go into it, as the name suggests, QuickSort is quicker than bubble sort, right? It's made to be quick. And so just keep that in mind while we go through it. So like the number of comparisons and swaps and whatever that we are doing when in QuickSort will be lower than the number that we would do in bubble sort. So just bear that in mind. So how QuickSort starts is we pick an item in the array, okay? Usually how this is done, just because it's a good general sort of rule of thumb for how to do it, is we just pick the last item, okay? So we just pick the last item, and this is called the pivot element, okay? We call it the pivot element. If I'm not pronouncing it, there you go, pivot. You guys know what pivoting is, right? Where you like, I don't know, precariously balance. I'm not sure what's called pivoting, like the formal definition, but we call that the pivot element, okay? And usually we just pick the last thing. It must be in the last place. So you could pick another one. Yes, that's a good way of putting it. So you could pick any element in the array and then just swap it for the last place. So you can do it however you want, this is our pivot elements, and you'll see why it's called that later on, okay? What we're gonna do is use this pivot element to partition the array. Okay, 2 fairly new words, but you'll see that partition makes a lot of sense. We're splitting the array into 2 parts. That's what QuickSort does. It's going to begin by splitting our array into 2 parts. So let's just see how this is done. Okay? There's a few steps. It's actually a pretty simple thing, quite an elegant thing. So we'll start by finding what is often called the item from left. Okay. When programming, typing out item from left is quite a lot to type. So usually people will just call this left. Okay, left. So how do we find left? We are going to go from the left of the array. So starting at 2, at position 0. Starting at position 0, we are going to go over the array from left to right. And we just want to find the first number bigger than our pivot element. So in this case, we want to find the first number bigger than 6 from the left. Okay, so we start at 2. 2 is less than 6, right? So that's not left. 8 is greater than 6. Bam, that's it. We found left. That's the first step, or the second step after picking the pivot element, right? Okay, so not too bad. So then we basically do the same thing, except from the right, we're going to find an item from right. Slightly different. So we're going to start from the right, and we just want to find the first item in the array, starting right to left, that is smaller than 6. Okay. In this case, pretty easy. 5 is less than 6, so that is right. All right. Okay. So not too bad. It's not too hard to follow yet. Again, programming it can be slightly more technical, but on an abstract level, it's not hard to understand what's going on so far. And you'll see it's like that through the whole algorithm. So we found these items left and right. Okay. Then we have a fairly simple rule. If, and notice I use the word if there, that's intentional because this would be tested in an if statement, right? So if left is less than right, so all that's saying is left is currently 0, 1, right? It's pointing at 1 at the item at index 1, which is 8. So left is equal to 1. Right is equal to 5, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So right is index 5. It's also a value of 5, but don't let that confuse you. So if left is less than right, basically, if left is on the left of right, then we're just going to swap them. Okay, so we're just going to swap 5 and 8. See? So we just swapped 5 and 8. And that's one step, basically. That whole part was like the first step in this process of partitioning. Okay. So let's go through the second one, and then perhaps after we've gone through just this one and the next one, you'll see that our goal was actually quite clear, and it's quite clever how this was achieved. So we're going to go through that process again, all right? The first goal is to find left, okay? That is the first item starting from the left that is greater than 6, okay? So I'll go through it step by step. Maybe one of you guys can spoil it in the chat, and if you find left before the rest of us. So, okay, so I see Liema also has load shedding starting at 4, so that's why he was asking us to start early. Okay, that might have been actually a good reason. I don't know. Okay, nicely done. So Adam pipped us to the post. He's already found it. But I'll go through it, right? So we start at 2, right? So we start at the left. Okay. 2 is less than 6, so that's not what we're looking for. 5 is less than 6, so that's not what we're looking for. 7 is greater than 6, so that is our left, all right? That's left. Now we do the same from the right, okay? So we start from the right, we're looking for the first item less than 6, okay? We're looking for the first item less than 6. Yeah, Vivette found it quickly. So you can see 8 is greater than 6, so that's not what we're looking for. 4, that is less than 6. So 4 is marked as right. Okay, and now we just need to apply our little rule again. If left comes before right, then we're going to swap them. Okay, so I'm going to swap 7 and 4. Done. Okay. Now we are going to go through that again, all right? We're just going to do it again. So we start from the left. We're looking for the first item greater than 6, starting from the left. So we go through it, right? 2, that's less than 6. 5, that's less than 6. 4, that's less than 6. 3, that's less than 6. 7, that's greater than 6. Okay, so 7 will be marked as left. Yeah, nicely done, Christian and Vivette found that one, so that's cool. And we do the same from the right. Okay, so we start from the right at 8. 8, you guys are getting good at this, so that's cool. So 8 is greater than 6, 7 is greater than 6, 3 is less than 6. So that will be marked as right. Now, what do you guys notice? What's different this time? Yeah, so our usual rule was if left comes before right, then we're going to swap them. So now that's false, right? Left is no longer coming before right. So we need the else statement. So if you can imagine this was in an if statement, we had if left is less than right, then do this. Else, what do we do now? What do we do in the else case? In the else case, we instead are going to swap left with our pivot. So in this case, I'll swap 7 and 6. Okay, so I swap left with the pivot. And there we go. So I swapped them. I swapped 6 and 7. Okay. Cool. Now that was a partition. That was one partition. Now what did the partition do? Okay. It split the array into 2 parts around our pivot element. So if you look here, we have an array of length 4 on the left of 6. Okay. We have an array of length 2 on the right of 6. Now, what is special about these 2 arrays? Everything in the left array is smaller than 6. Everything in the right array is greater than 6. Okay? So that is what the partition achieved. The other effect of the partition is that the number 6 is in its correct place. So you can picture it, if the array was sorted, we would have what? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 6 is where it would be if the array was sorted. We can see that the array currently isn't sorted, right? 2, 5, 4, 3, 8, 7, it's not sorted. But the 6 is in its correct place. We don't have to think about 6 anymore. It's done. Okay. Cool. So now I have to remind you of this word that we discussed very long ago in chapter 1 called recursion. Okay. So what we just did here was we partitioned the array, okay, around 6. Okay, so you can picture we called a method called partition. Why this algorithm is called recursive is because what we'll do now is we'll take the array we have on the left and we'll take the array we had on the right and we're going to partition them as well. Okay, so basically just ignoring everything else. So I'm just going to focus on these 4 items and we're going to do that whole process that we did on the first array. We're going to repeat it, okay, recursively. So it's the exact same process. We're not going to do anything different. We're just doing it on a different array, okay? So how did we start? We took the last item as our pivot element. Okay, so 3 in this case. Last time it was 6. This time it's 3. I just chose the last item, nothing special. Okay, we're going to find the left. So left, starting from the left, the first item greater than our pivot. That's what we're looking for. So we start at left, which is 2. 2, that's less than 3, so that's not our pivot. 5, that's not left. 5, that's greater than 3, so that is marked as left. Okay, cool. Yeah, nicely done. So that's marked as left. We now need to find right. Okay, so we start at the right, which is 4. Okay, 4 is greater than 3, so we won't mark that as right. 5 is greater than 3, so that won't be marked as right. 2 is less than 3, so that is marked as right. And what do we notice here? Right comes before left, so we're in the else statement. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap left with the pivot element. So Christian, all of the code is in your book on page 80. So you'll see that it is quite a long algorithm, and it's fairly complicated, but if you understand what's going on, it's not too bad. Again, we will go over the code one day if we have enough time, but this is now getting into like second year computer science stuff, actually. Like actually analyzing QuickSort and stuff. So you guys are pretty ahead of the curve. But yeah, if we have time, we might consider the code more deeply. But for now, I want you guys to understand the algorithm rather, like the flow, the process. Okay, cool. So we're in the else part of our statement. So we're going to swap 5 and 3. All right. So we swap them. Again, we're just applying the same rule, right? The same rule we did on the large array. I'm just doing the same thing here. Nothing is different. And bam. What do you notice about that subarray now? So this would be called a subarray. We had an array of length 7, and we're considering a subarray of length 4. Okay? You notice it's sorted, right? 6 was also in its correct place. This is really shaping up now. Okay? And we're going to do the same thing for the array we had on the right. We're going to recursively apply that same operation over here. Okay? So what do? We pick the pivot element. So I'm just taking the last element. In this case, there's only 2. So you could also do this with just like a special case. But I'll show you that the same rules do sort of apply. Okay. So we look for left. All right. So we look for left. Starting from the left, the first item greater than our pivot is just 8, right? Starting from the right, the first item less than our pivot. Okay. A bit of a special case here, right? So right is not 8, so we would go to like -1 if you like, and we'll say, oh, -1, so the array is done. But you can see that right is still before left, right? You could imagine that right is in this empty space almost, okay? So we're in the else portion as well, because left is not coming before right, because there is no right. So we're in the else portion, and so all we do is swap left and right. Again, just applying the same rules we applied before. Okay. And once this process has gone down, we can merge the arrays back up, and what do you know? It's sorted. All right. Okay. This is a pretty advanced algorithm. Like it is doing sorting recursively. It's combining a lot of different ideas, but I think you can see from the flow itself, it's quite intuitive what's going on, and it's quite clever. But yeah, it is quite technical as well, right? But I didn't want to just gloss over it because it is a big topic. You guys, we're pretty ahead of where we need to be, I think. So we have time to cover these things, at least at a high level. Okay. But what do we really need to know about this? So in the MTA, in terms of what kinds of questions you would be asked, usually they'll ask something like, you have an implementation of QuickSort or bubble sort. How do you analyze the algorithm? Okay. So this is I've shared the slides on the WhatsApp group. So I've just added this to the end of our sorting slides. So it's in the same set of slides that bubble sort is in. So if you guys remember, one of the important things I told you to remember about bubble sort is that bubble sort sorts an array using a series of comparisons and swaps. Okay? Comparisons and swaps. All right. And so yeah, that's the main thing. And that's what you must really remember. Obviously, they can give you like a block of code or like 4 blocks of code and say which one is correct. And there'll usually be some obvious mistake in the code that you guys can point out in like the obvious, in the other blocks of code, there'd be some obvious mistake and you just have to pick the correct one. So that they can do, but usually how they frame it is, how does bubble sort the array? It sorts it using comparisons and swaps. And you can picture that, right? So here we have a comparison with the blue line comparing 2 and 1, and we have a swap to swap them. Okay. How they describe QuickSort in the MTA is they say QuickSort sorts an array using comparisons, because we still do comparisons, right? Like we ask, is left less than right? Okay. And we also have to find left and right. So there's lots of comparisons, but instead of swaps, QuickSort uses partitions, okay? And again, there is swapping, but it's considered a part of the partitioning, okay? So when you're asked about QuickSort, you remember that QuickSort sorts the array using a series. It's a recursive algorithm that sorts an array using a series of comparisons and partitions. Okay, so that's the main sort of definitive difference that you must understand between QuickSort and bubble sort. All right. And for now, I might code up QuickSort in a Rex tester so that you guys can review it on your own time. But for now, I think let's put QuickSort to bed and get cracking with chapter 4. All right. I'll also send you the video of Hungarian dancers dancing out QuickSort in case my explanation didn't gel with you. Cool. So that's that. Okay, yeah, we still have quite a lot of time. We made it through that quite quickly, so that's cool. And I do want us to take our time on this so that you guys will be able to answer, because they answer some pretty weird questions on, they ask some pretty weird questions about chapter 4. So let's make sure you guys will get those. How many weeks until the exam? So what's great about not being on a fixed school schedule is that we can be pretty flexible about when you guys write the exam. So basically, however long it takes us to get to the end of chapter 6. Currently, it seems we're sort of planning for November, which gives us plenty of time. I think we'll actually be done before then, which is why I was willing to say we'll probably come back to QuickSort and stuff a bit later. So yeah, but around then. Cool. Let's go. So, wait, so you guys. No, because we can just tell Microsoft to show up at a classroom with a bunch of laptops and you guys write. It's cool because we don't have, like, you can write whenever we want. And rewrites whenever we want as well, actually. So it is quite nice that, because, you know, we don't have the International Examinations Board or the government watching over like when you write. So particularly in the case of like a pandemic, it's pretty convenient. Usually you would have written before November, but we missed like 3 or 4 weeks of lectures. So cool. Anyway. No, it is not open book. That would, you can't, a multiple choice open book test. Come on. Okay. So cool. We've discussed a lot of this already, right? We discussed the World Wide Web a little bit. So www. Okay, it's again, you guys must remember the technical definitions, right? Like, so it's will we get a mock test? Will we do you mean a mock test on all of the content we've covered, Ethan? Yeah. We'll do revision sessions as well. And there's lots of ways that you guys will be able to practice for the test itself. But we'll also continue doing the mock test at the end of each chapter. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much. Crawford's on track, I think, to do pretty well. It will be the test. Yes, you will write online through like a little desktop application that they have installed on the laptops that they bring. And before someone jokingly answers, no, you do not get to keep the laptops. The exam, yeah. So it'll automatically load your marks up somewhere and tell you if you get the certificates and email you and all of this stuff. It's quite cool. Okay, and also emails you like little codes and stuff that you can add it to your LinkedIn and stuff. They've sorted it out quite well. I was quite impressed. Okay, but let's concentrate on chapter 4, because if we don't finish chapter 4, what happens? We'll have another revision session afterwards for people who want to write a supplementary. So if you get under 70% on your first go, you can try again. but don't let that be an excuse, because it is just extra stress for you. Okay, so just wreck it the first time, because there really isn't an excuse not to. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, exactly. Bill Gates will personally show up at your house. Exactly. He lands the helicopter in your garden. They will ask different questions. Yes, the pass mark is 70. Does that freak you out? I think most of the Crawford class has been getting over 70 for the mock tests as well, though. Shame. They will ask. Yeah, they will ask different questions, Alex. It's randomized. If you get 69, you fail. Exactly. They should subtract 1% from the pass mark just for the meme, right? Okay, concentrate. Chapter 4. The World Wide Web is a collection of interconnected hypertext documents. Okay, hypertext documents, that's basically what this lecture is about. Other than QuickSort, we're going to learn how to write these hypertext documents, how they work, what the various things are, and what various questions you can be asked about them. Okay, so I have load shedding. Don't worry, all of the recordings will be uploaded as well, though. But yeah, that is really a pity. You guys should buy a car battery and use it to power your Wi-Fi. That's what we've been doing. Or a UPS. Okay, cool. So each web page, so a web page is basically a hypertext document or a collection of hypertext documents. And each web page, but also all the resources on the internet like images, are identified by a specific URL, okay, a uniform resource locator. By the way, I do remember us having a discussion last week, or not a discussion, I was just wrong. My IT teacher at school, I swear, called these universal resource locators. So I read about it a little bit, and apparently they changed the name, or the original guy wanted to call it universal, but they thought it was egotistical. And so they changed it to uniform, because obviously it doesn't identify resources all over the universe. It identifies them in a uniform way. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Anyway, cool. So we went through the various parts of a URL, right? HTTPS or HTTP. This stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. A protocol is just a set of rules governing how a specific thing should be done. So the Hypertext Transfer Protocol is just a bunch of rules defining how we transfer hypertext. Makes sense. Okay. HTTPS is just Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. And as the name suggests, that's the secure version. So it means it's encrypted. And I also showed you guys on a website where you can see it with the little lock, but you had probably seen that before. It's pretty basic, like online banking sort of knowledge, right? That next part of the URL defines the server. Take note of that, because that will come up again later. And the last part of the URL defines the path to the resource. Exactly like you have paths on your own computer. The servers that you're accessing are just big computers, right? So they also have paths to the various files and resources that you're locating. Okay, so just going over that quickly to remind you guys. Now, on to what we're actually learning today. Okay, so HTTP defines rules to transfer hypertext documents between servers and clients or browsers, but how are they actually created? Okay, so we're going to learn how to actually create these hypertext documents. And there are three main concepts. They're not actually concepts, they're languages. We're going to learn the basics, the bare basics of three different languages today, sort of how they interact and what they're each used for in this development of hypertext documents, okay? The first one, you've probably heard of this one before if you've done any sort of CAT courses or IT courses. HTML, hypertext markup language, a very, very common thing. Yeah, so very widely used, but we'll go through the basics of how it works. Nothing too hectic though. CSS, cascading style sheets. See, both of these languages are actually quite simple, but actually doing anything with them, it can be extremely challenging. They're very finicky. It's a very difficult task to actually get things done in a nice, pretty way. But this would be called sort of front-end development if you were working in that kind of space, if you were working within these two languages. And nowadays, there's a more modern way of handling front-end development, and a very popular way arguably the future of web development lies in a language called JavaScript. Okay, JavaScript. This language is a very big deal at the moment. Okay, so no relation to Java, actually, interestingly enough. They only called it that because I think it was some investors wanted it to be like Java because Java was very popular. So they just called it JavaScript, but it has very little in common. So, oh, okay, cool. So JavaScript, some people would be very angry at me for capitalizing the S, but they do officially capitalize the S. So yeah, JavaScript, arguably the future of web development. Google really likes it. So they're very against Python, Google is. They want everything to be done in JavaScript. And so that's the main reason it's become exceptionally popular lately. Okay, and really there's so many, this is honestly where web development is at the moment, is JavaScript. Okay, but we have to start with the early stuff before we can build up to that kind of thing. So HTML. Let's start there. I did tell you guys last week to set up a folder on your computer. I have mine open here. A folder on your computer. I added a folder inside the folder called assets, where I have this GIF of a Smurf hitting another Smurf with a hammer. You can get your own assets, a GIF or an image or whatever you want, and save it in there. Actually, it must be an image. Okay, so JPG, PNG, some of these traditional image formats. Don't make it like a .tiff or something, because you'll just make yourself have a horrible day. You can also just find a public URL on the internet through Google Images. You don't have to save it to your computer or anything. Point is, have some image or something ready just for fun. Okay, but the main part of the folder is these three different folders. Okay, we have .html. Okay, the HTML stands for hypertext markup language. So that is going to be our HTML file. Okay. Nice. Yeah, just at the end of World War II. It was a very, very significant historical event, that one. Script.js. So yeah, have that as well. The JS, I'm sure you guys can guess what the JS stands for. And styles.css. So the .css is saying this is a cascading style sheets document. Okay, cascading style sheets. All right. Cool. So yeah, have that folder ready because we'll basically be playing with that today. Again, I could teach this strictly to the test, but I want you guys to at least get something useful out of it. So we'll do it this way instead. So HTML is what they call a text and tag-based language. This is very different from what we have been learning. What if you don't have a PC or a laptop? I guess, so watch the video and maybe go through it at like 2 times speed later on and actually do the stuff when you do have a PC or laptop available. Steal it from your parents or something, or from the neighbor. Cool. So HTML is a text and tag-based language. This is very different, guys, from what we've been learning up to this point. HTML cannot do anything. Compared to what C# can do, HTML is very limited. It's for templating. It's a template language. Okay. So yeah, like no for loops or if statements or any of that stuff. That's what JavaScript is for. Okay. It mostly defines, they also call it a template language, but the official definition that your textbook gives is text and tags, so that's what we're using. So it mostly defines the template and layout of the web page, okay? Actually, it's very similar to the idea of types. It's defining a bunch of types of everything on the screen and just their relative positions and things like that. And it has a lot of extra useful functionality, which we will definitely check out. Okay, but the basic way, I think the best way to learn this stuff is to actually just create a web page, honestly, and then also just see how someone who has a little bit of experience creates a web page. But because no one really, like I remember when I was at school and we were creating HTML pages, and I somehow got the idea that someone who was good at this would memorize all of the tags. but this is not how it is done at all. So how HTML development usually goes, if it's not generated for you automatically by whatever system you're using, you would go into Google and you would type HTML cheat sheet, and you'd open up a link. Obviously, you would find a cheat sheet that you like, and this is how HTML development actually works. Okay, but you have to learn the basics, so we'll start there. Okay, so there are a whole bunch of tags, but to start, you need a file, a text file to put these tags. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up all of these text files in a text editor. Okay, super simple text editor. Again, you wouldn't usually use this if you were creating. Yeah, don't you remember this is our, we made this. Oh, I think the Shrek was added after you guys. Yeah, one of the other schools, we decided to add Shrek. But this is done. This website is fully developed. This is as good as it's going to get. Yeah. I forgot. You guys hadn't seen the GIF yet. Yeah. So you can see the website's come a long way, hey? Okay. Cool. So usually you wouldn't do this in a text editor. You'd use like a proper IDE like Visual Studio or, I don't know, Notepad++ even. Yeah, and it worked pretty well. Everyone got rickrolled, so that's good. I actually heard someone playing it through their mic as well, so that was cool. Awesome. So open up all of these files in a text editor. We're just going to use a text editor for now. It happened at the other schools as well. How did you edit the text? How did I edit the text? What do you mean, to make it .html on Windows? Oh, just you'll have Notepad. So Mac will have like a Notepad thing. If whatever app will open a .txt file. So that's one way you can check. If you create a new file with the extension, so if you just renamed one of these .txt, when you double click, your system will open that file in something. Okay, and that's the file you should use for this, right? If this had the extension .txt. Okay, whatever your computer automatically opens this in, you should be using that. Some computers might try to open the .html with your browser, which is actually a good sign because that's the first thing we're going to be talking about. But yeah, so whatever, yeah, Notepad is what it's called usually. I think, does Mac have gedit? I think it's called gedit or something like that. You will definitely have a normal text editor though. Some like super simple text editor. Text edits on Mac. Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah. So text edits then. I mean, I can just say. Okay, yeah. So it is called text edit. That's correct. Thanks, Byron. Yeah. So text edits on Mac. If you just open it up on that, it's a super simple, basic text editor, just like this. It does nothing, basically. It just allows you to type in a file. Cool. Okay, so once we've got those open, as you saw on mine, so I'll just do it again. I'll demonstrate again. So I'm going to close this HTML. When I double click it, it might not work for you guys because it might be handled slightly differently. Yours might see .html and automatically open it up in your browser. But yeah, like I said, open it up in a normal text editor. But you can see when I double click the mypage.html, it opens in my text editor. It thinks this is a text file. Okay? And so what I need to tell it is that actually this is a hypertext document. And how I tell it that? All tags in HTML, all of the tags are between these less than and greater than signs, okay? The left facing and right facing arrow. So I put the left facing and right facing arrow there, and I just type inside exclamation points doc type HTML. Okay, now before I save this, so you see currently it's a text file. If you look at the little icon that my computer's displaying for mypage.html, it's got a little text file on top of it. Watch, as soon as I save this doc type HTML, saved, and I go back to that, you can see it's now, the symbol changed, right? It's now like this. Okay. So now it realizes that this is no longer a text file. And why that's significant is now, watch, when I double click it, it's not going to open it up in gedit, in my notepad. It's going to open it up in Google. Okay, there we go. It opened it up in Google, and you can see the URL, or in this case, it's a path, but you can imagine it being a URL, is specified by Google Chrome. Okay, so it automatically opened it in my default browser, which is good because this is where we're going to view our web page. Okay, cool. So that's the first thing. This is how you define an HTML document. You put that at the top of the document. Exclamation point doc type HTML. Mine doesn't want to save it, then change it. So what's the name of your file, Alex? My one isn't working. Oh, okay. We're gonna, maybe we should do some screen sharing here so that I can help you guys fix it. You guys don't have this open up in Word, hey? Don't have it open in Word. Okay, good. Definitely don't open it in Word. Can you backspace that .txt? Can you backspace that .txt, Alex? So like rename it. So right click, rename, and backspace out of it. This is why this is why Linux is quite nice, because it doesn't try to see. Word is saying, oh no, you want a text file. And you're like, no, actually, I don't want a text file. You can't open it in Notepad. Ooh, that's a problem. Maybe we can share our screens and do this. Let me see. Ah, okay. When you click Save As, you'll have to do this. Okay, we can go through that. Let me see. I think it should allow me to select this on mine as well, because it'd be nice if you guys could follow along with me. That would be quite cool. When you click Save As, you must select a different. You have to select a different type when you save it. When you click Save As, not .txt. Okay, so open a new Notepad document, write some HTML in the document, select File in the Notepad menu, and then click Save As. Enter the name index.htm and select UTF-8. Okay, so there'll be a drop down next to your button when you click Save As, and select UTF-8. Okay, and use either .html or .htm for the extension when you're clicking Save As. Let me try it here if Linux will attempt to make it that complicated so that I can demonstrate. So if I click Save here, so it opens up this sort of document here. How do I save from one? I think if you've already saved it, you'll have to click like File, Save As or something, Alex. But maybe try opening up a new text document and saving it to where you want it. Yeah. So I'm going to say, where would it be? Work, Crawford. So you see I've opened it up a new document, and I clicked Control S to save it, but you could also click Save As or whatever. Control S is the best way to save though. And you just have to select the correct encoding. So mine is at the bottom here. Yours might be in a different place, but I must say UTF-8, okay, UTF-8, all right. And you can click, I could also save it as a Windows, which is cool, but I won't. Although I can see maybe it'll break in the same way. So I'll try that. And then just save it as whatever you want. They recommend calling it index.html though. So maybe call it index.html, that would be fine. And then click save. And cool, that works. Yeah, and it has a very similar thing, and I'll just go ahead and do that in index.html. Say Cool. I'll write it again here. So you say exclamation point, doc type, HTML, like that, and click save. And Notepad should realize after a while, if it's .html and has the correct encoding, it should say, actually, that's the other way to do this. Let me get that for you guys. And maybe that will help Windows. So I'm going to open up this quickly. Trusty HTML cheat sheet. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, did you see that, guys? So Maya called it index, and then it worked. So call it index if you're using a Windows computer, all right. Yeah. The other thing that might help is if, well, we'll see it later, so we can do it later. But yeah, guys, call it index.html, and that might help if you're on a Windows computer. Sorry, I didn't think it would be. Yeah, call it index.html, and make sure that it doesn't save with like a .txt extension, and make sure you select the correct encoding when you click Save As. It must be UTF-8, UTF-8. Was it I think it was someone in this class that asked me last week why I use Linux. Here's your answer. Although I think, have Mac users, Byron, Vivette, have you managed on the Mac to get it working? And sorry for those of you who it was working for, it's just nice for the class to feel, okay, cool, it's working for you guys as well. That's great. All good for you. Okay, that's good. See, these Unix-based systems are pretty good. Yeah, what's up, Alex? Don't worry, we won't rush to it. We'll try to get it working for you. It's a real pity that it's having this kind of complication. But it is hidden. The .txt is hidden, you mean? You only see the .html. Weird. When I go to properties. Okay. Ooh, okay. So no spaces, they say. No spaces in the file name. But I suppose you're calling yours index now, right? So that should be okay. Choose your codification. Give your file a title in the text field file name. Don't leave any spaces, and remember to add .ht. You must add .html manually when you type in the name, Alex. So when you save it as index.html. Okay, you did. Interesting. Maya, did you have to do that? Did you have to add the .html yourself? You did. Okay, cool. Did you add it after you saved or in the save as screen? In the save as screen. Okay. This is an annoying problem to be having. Okay. This might be what helps you. File Explorer, View tab on ribbon, Options, View tab and folder. So I think this is your problem. It's hiding the file extension from you, Alex. So you have to uncheck the options in your Explorer to hide the extensions. Okay. So you have to uncheck the options so that you can backspace the .txt. So apparently you click on the View tab on the ribbon, like it might be here, like when you're going through File Explorer. It could also be here, like somewhere here. View tab in folder options dialog. Notepad doesn't, HTML is text, Notepad does text, ergo Notepad does HTML. All he's trying to do is code a, yeah, I think. How to save HTML. Wow, this is a wide problem in the Microsoft community, hey? Let's see. Okay. Okay, sorry, it's difficult to fix from here. Maybe I'll look through it. I'll get it working on my computer and send you the steps. Maybe, okay, I can go try do it now just so that I can get a clearer idea of the steps. Okay. But let's take a break anyway. Sorry for those of you who had it working. We'll get started soon. 5-minute break. I'm going to go get it working on my computer, and then I'll come back with clear steps. Okay. It was break time already, I suppose. We missed 5 minutes of our break, but it's cool. Yeah, no problem, Alex. I'll be back now. So one way to do it, I'll record a video and send it on the WhatsApp group, okay, of how I'm doing it. Let me do that. Probably the easiest way. They might have done it that way. I'm going to try to do this with one hand. You are struggling to get it working on Windows. So I'm using Windows 10, so it might be slightly different. If you go into, I'll give 2 ways. So if you go into your search box and just type NO or whatever, you search for Notepad, find Notepad. Then immediately don't type anything yet, just click Save As. You also push Control-Shift-S. Make sure that in the Save As type, you make it all files. And then type you are struggling to get it working on Windows, just come here, type Notepad, so open up Notepad, right, in the search box. I'm using Windows 10, but you could find it. And then just click File, Save As. Make sure you check Save As Type for File. So it's just dot, not .txt. Type in whatever you want the name of the file to be. Click, where you want to save it. So in the bottom left, within the Explorer, just type Notepad, open up Notepad, click File, Save As. Make sure you select all files, so it's just dot, not .txt. Make sure the encoding is set to UTF-8. Give it whatever name you want, .html, and then hit save. Right. For those of you who are struggling to get away from Windows, go to the bottom left by your Explorer, type in Notepad, open up Notepad, click File, Save As. Make sure you select all files, make the encoding UTF-8, type in whatever name you want the file to be, .html. Make sure you select the correct place for it to save, so I'm just going to set it to my desktop, and then hit save. Then you'll see that error pops up, and it's a .html document. When I double click it, it opens up. Okay, struggled to record that video a little bit. Had to do it with one hand, but yeah, so that worked. The other way you could do it is to just open up the is to just create a new text document and save it as .html. But yeah, hopefully that works for you, Alex. I just sent it on the WhatsApp group now. It might take a bit of a while to send. Hopefully everything is in the video that needs to be. It's not very clear, the video, unfortunately. But let me know if it helps. At least listen to what I'm saying, rather, if you can hear. If that doesn't help. If not, I suppose we must continue, and I can help you guys. I can help whoever needs help. I can help you fix it afterwards. Okay, but also I was using Windows 10, so it might be a little bit different. It's a very complicated thing. Okay, anyway, so first line that needs to be in your HTML documents is this. I'll just send it in the chat, so for those of you who are struggling, you can copy it across. And there are a bunch of other tags to learn, all right? So the main, just like in C#, HTML has a set template that we program according to. And sorry that I was just getting started immediately again. I do want to make some progress. So just like in C#, HTML also has its own sort of template, its own structure, right? And so the main structure is just that you code essentially in a sequence of tags, all right? And each tag just defines like a specific group, okay? Each tag defines a specific group. So we have this doc type HTML to define this as an HTML document, a hypertext markup language document. And we also call it .html because a bunch of computers read things in different ways, as we are currently discovering. The other tag that you need is the .html tag, all right? Or the, not .html, the HTML tag, all right? That's what we would call it. And now's a good time to learn this rule as well, is that generally speaking, whenever you open a tag, you must also close a tag. So how do we close it? How do you edit the document once it opens as a web page? So right click on it and select open with. Okay, there'll be one of the options on any computer. Also Windows will have like open with other application or open with ... and click that and open it up in Notepad. Okay, I'm glad it's taking you to a web page now there, Alex. So now, yeah, right click on it and select open with and select notepad. So you have to tell it whether you want it to open in the, mine doesn't show a notepad when I click open with. So you would have to search for other possible applications. Did you save it in notepad how I did in the video? Yeah, okay, so scroll down to more apps like Maya said above. The other option is to just never close the notepad. Never close the notepad once you've created it, okay? But yeah, you can just click open with and you need to find notepad somewhere, okay? The other option, there are a couple of other things that you can use to edit. If you guys wanted to get into HTML development on Windows, you would use like Sublime Text or Notepad++, okay? But Notepad does work. Notepad does work. Okay. Cool. So Alex, are you good? Did you find Notepad? Awesome. Okay, cool. Great stuff. Cool. So we've now got sort of 3 tags, right? So the first thing we say exclamation point, doc type, all caps, HTML. Okay. And then you open up an HTML tag, and there's this important idea here that you guys try to get now. So we say every tag that we open, we also close. Right? So when we open a tag like that with HTML, we then need to close it, and it's just the same tag, except you put a slash before it. Okay. So the tags open and close, kind of how curly brackets work in C# and normal brackets and everything like that. Okay. So it's a similar idea that we have going here. Okay. And you'll see that HTML, it is quite straightforward. It's just defining templates. If you're having an okay understanding of C#, then HTML will come to you quite easily, I think, because it's just a lot of English words, right? But we first need to define the basic structure. The other thing that HTML documents have, so we open up this HTML tag, and all that's telling the computer is that everything between those 2 tags must be read as HTML code. Okay, so it's just for structure. It's just to make things clear. And actually, you don't even need these for most browsers anymore. But all the browsers, you know, for compatibility issues, do like you to have them. Okay. The next thing we do, you don't need to tab. You don't need tabs. HTML is not going to be reading the tabs, but it makes it easier for a human to read. So get into the habit of, if you're inside like a HTML tag and you're going to type something, don't type it in line with the HTML tag. Hit tab and type it there. Okay, that's good practice. So start getting used to that, all right? So always hit tab when you're working inside other tags. And so the next tag we'll open is called the head tag. And this is defining the header of your documents, okay? We're gonna be covering a lot of tags. I'll explain what they do when we get to tags that actually have a purpose eventually. But the head tag is just defining the header of your documents, okay? But it's not a header that is read by a human, it's a header that's read by the computer. So again, it's for structure. But you guys will see later what kind of things we would define in the head tag, okay? And where we have the header, do you guys know, if I was making a Word document, right? Think about the structures that I have on the page, right? I have a header. What would be just below the header? What would be below the header? What would we call that? Anyone know? The body, precisely, and no difference in HTML. The next tag we would have is body. And again, whenever you open a tag, you close the tag with /body. Okay, so we would say head /head body. Okay, I can't see what I'm typing now because of how Zoom's chat works. Okay, cool, it worked well there. Okay, so head /head, body /body. Both of those would be inside your HTML tag like they are on my screen here. Okay. Cool. So now we're at the point where we can actually start doing things. So kind of like, if you remember when we started way back in chapter 1 with C#, we quickly threw you guys into the deep end by showing you namespace, class, method, right? Like main method, because there's the structure of a C# program that it's impossible to initially understand everything that's going on in that structure, but you'll eventually glean a better understanding, and it's no different with HTML. Okay, so this is just defining the structure of our hypertext documents. You can hit save. Now, hopefully most of you guys also already have it open in a browser like I did now. If not, on Windows or Mac, you should just be able to double click your .html documents and it'll open it up in Google Chrome or Windows. Is it called Edge now? Microsoft Edge? I don't know what the browser is called. And or Chrome, whatever browser you're using, Firefox. And you can just hit Control R. So Control R will refresh it. Currently, there's nothing on the page. Okay, there's nothing on the page. But I want to show you guys something cool just so that you can appreciate what the browser is doing here, what purpose it's serving. Okay, as you can see, I have this HTML document open as text here, right? It's text. So what the browser is doing is it is interpreting the text. Okay, and to show you that, if you open it up in most browsers and right-click on the screen, so it'll just be a blank screen for now because we haven't done anything yet, but if you right-click on the screen and hit View Page Source, it'll open up something like this. Google Chrome has a particularly nice format for their View Page Source. Don't worry if yours isn't quite this pretty. It's worth it for not giving in to the monopoly that is Google. But yeah, but it'll look something like this, and you'll see the code that we just wrote is in that View Page Source. So that is the source code for the page that we are using. Oh, I see some people disconnected because of load shedding. That's unfortunate. Cool. So that's View Page Source. And I'll show you that as we update the page, that source code will update as well, obviously, because they're the same. Okay, as we update this text. Cool. Let's finally do something with this page. Okay, so I quickly just want to draw a distinction between what the body tag does and what the head tag does. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, the head tag sort of defines the header information for a page. Okay, the body obviously defines the body information. Okay? So I think one obvious way to start is adding a simple piece of information to the body. All right, we are going to use this tag inside the body, the P tag. Okay, P stands for paragraph. Right, paragraph. So we're just going to add a paragraph to the body of our page. So I'm going to put the P tag there. I'll immediately close the P tag, and between the two tags, I'm just going to type something. All right. Finally getting started with chapter 4. Okay, and then I'm going to hit Control S to save the document. Okay, Control S. So you must see there mustn't be the asterisks there. You have to save the document. Control S. So that's in the body, and I'm going to go over to our page. All right, hit Control R to refresh the page. You could also click like the refresh button here, and you see after I refresh, I've got a little paragraph there on my page. Finally getting started with chapter 4. All right. Cool. So fairly simple tags. Again, there's a lot new, but don't worry. So the body is just defining the body of our page, right? It's not too bad. The body is just defining the body of our page. The head is a little bit more, I'd say a little bit more difficult to understand, but let me just show you some of the things that you would define in the head, and hopefully it'll give you a better idea of what it's used for, okay? So the header tag is used for things that you don't want to be displayed directly on the page. Maybe it could be information for the user. It could be these little, you see when you open up websites, they have little fave icons. That's what we call them, fave icons. So like the Standard Bank has their little logo, YouTube has their little logo, like next to their name on the tab. You might specify that fave icon inside the header tag. You would also specify the title of the page. So you can see the title of this YouTube, of this tab that I have open here is 12 web applications. The title here is bfmta.herokuapp.com. Okay. So let's start with that. Let's set the title of our page. So mine currently says mypage.html, which is just the name of the document. But we're going to use the header tag to set the title. And what do you think the tag to set the title is, guys? Just to hopefully see if you guys are still feeling intimidated. Title. Good one. Yeah, so the title tag sets the title. So you type title and then title to close the tag. Okay, pretty intuitive. This is why I was saying it's not really something you have to memorize. Okay, so don't approach it that way. It really just makes sense, guys. It really just, so don't approach it as like a memorization in like this kind of memorization style that you might approach some other content. The title tag is just called title. HTML is built to be extremely readable and simple. Okay. And just like with the paragraph, whatever you type in this title, so I'm just going to call mine, I don't know, I'm going to be displaying a Smurf GIF there, so Smurf GIF, right? I'll just call mine Smurf GIF. Okay, and so now you'll see, I'm going to open, remember, Control S to save it, Control S, and you see currently it's mypage.html. I'm going to hit Control R. It's now Smurf GIF. Okay, not too bad. So this, so this process is basically web page development. Obviously, it gets significantly more complicated than this when we get onto later things. But currently, we're just working through all of these different HTML tags. Just getting used to how it works. How do I edit in Notepad again? So right-click on the documents, Ethan, on the document you're trying to open, the .html documents. Hit Open with Other Application. It'll give you a list. If Notepad isn't already in the list, then you'll have to click like View Other Applications, or Maya, what was it called? Find. You would have to click More or something like that to get to. How do I go out of the view page? How do I go out of the view page something? Oh, view source. How do you get out of the view source? You can just hit the back page, Alex, but alternatively, just go ahead and open up the text document with the browser again. So I see what you see. So you see this, you mean? What's on the screen here? So view page source will usually open it up in a new tab. You want to see this. Okay, so an easy way to do it, just double click the .html document that you're opening and it'll open it up in the browser. All right. If it's not opening up in the browser, if it's now opening up with a notepad, you'll have to click Open with Other Application and select the browser again. Okay, so you'll have to continually flick between them. Okay, awesome. I'm glad. Cool. So you've now changed the title of the page. And yeah, now that this process is working, you'll see you can very quickly add to this. HTML is built to be like this rapid thing. If you can do something with HTML, it's usually an easy thing to do. Okay, now the tab thing shows Smurf GIF. Awesome, but you're not adding a Smurf GIF to yours, so unless you are. If you are, then that's cool. But you should give your title a more topical. What is your page going to be about? No, I'm kidding. I know it's all good. Yeah, cool. So we've got the basics going now. I think let's what shall we add next? We should go through the tags that they can test you on. Okay, so image. We will add an image in a little bit, but let's focus on something easier first. So there's this tag called /. It's called the A tag. Okay, I am not sure for the life of me what this tag stands for, and I'm not sure why they called it this. This tag is for hyperlinks. So if you ever go to a website and there's like a blue link, I mean, it happens a lot. I'm just thinking where I can find one now. On my GitHub, there'll be one. Oh, I'm not logged into GitHub. you know when you click a link, like it says click here, oh, Wikipedia, thank you for, that's the most obvious page to see a bunch of A tags. Yes, good suggestion. Wikipedia, actually, yeah, we can open up the QuickSort Wikipedia. Okay, it's cool. So I'm on the QuickSort Wikipedia here to show you that this is what Wikipedia is doing. Again, this source code will be very complicated, but I can just click view page source. Here is all the HTML code for Wikipedia, okay, for this Wikipedia document. So there's image tags. I'm just looking. So you see here, there is an A tag, okay? So there we go. There is an A tag right here. Okay, so this is an A tag. Okay, that's what it looks like on Wikipedia. Every time there's a little blue link, so this A tag is called performance. So the word performance will be highlighted in blue somewhere on this page. Where is it? In the worst case, I'm not finding it. The page does have a lot of links on it. Let me see, wiki, time complexity, title, time complexity. It comes after worst case. Worst case. Oh, okay, it's this one, I think. Yeah, okay, so yeah, so worst case, it's weird that it's displaying the title, interesting. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong place. Let's find the first one. So efficient sorting algorithm. I'll Control F for it. There we go. Okay, yeah. There are a lot of A tags, but basically every single link on this site, that's an obvious one. Okay, Tony Hoare or whatever, however you pronounce his name. So this guy created QuickSort apparently, and his name is hyperlinked on Wikipedia. So there it is. There it is. That name there. You see it's hyperlinked to his Wikipedia page, right? It's highlighted in blue here. That's implemented with an A tag. Look at the box on the top right. The box on the top right. I am not sure. Yeah. Cool. Let's just make our own A tag because that'll make it clearer. All right. So let's say I want to link to. Actually, yeah, we can do this quite nicely. So I'll say I'm going to make my own sort of brief Wikipedia link, okay, to show you what A tags do. So I'll say, we just finished QuickSort, okay? We just finished learning about QuickSort. Okay? So I've just got another P tag. So I'm just using a paragraph tag there, okay? So you can see when I go and push Control R, it says, we just finished learning about QuickSort. It added another dot because I put a dot after my P tag there. There you go. So you see it just says, we just finished learning about QuickSort. So I opened up another paragraph. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use an A tag to link to the Wikipedia page about QuickSort. All right. So how do I do this? Well, I'm going to put an A tag, so A, around QuickSort on each side. Okay, /A. All right. See that? And I have to put the URL that it will be linking to. And how do I do this? We say href. Okay, href. So inside the A tag, the first part of the A tag. So this is not between, it's not where I've written QuickSort. Okay, that's the title. Inside the A portion, so like this, inside the A portion, I'm going to say href equals open and close curly. What do you guys think that means? That is open and closed quotes. What is that? What is that specifying? Those open and closed quotes after that href equals. It's a string. Exactly. Text. Precisely. Yeah, so it's a string. Okay, HTML has strings, and we specify the href we are linking to as a string. Okay. So there, I'm just literally going to put the entire URL for the QuickSort algorithm for this Wikipedia page. Okay, so I'm literally going to put this link, n.wikipedia.org, that link, I'm going to put inside that href string. all right? So I'm going to say href equals open and close quotes, and I'm just putting the entire Wikipedia link there. Okay. I'm going to go back to the web page, hit Control R. You see it's now blue, and I can now click it. And when I click it, I go to the Wikipedia QuickSort page. Okay. So that is called a hyperlink. Why is it called a hyperlink? Because it links to a hypertext document. Okay, makes sense, right? It links to a hypertext document. So it is a hyperlink. And yeah, href, I think actually stands for hyperreference or hypertext reference, something like that. But you'd never be asked that. Everyone just says href. Okay. Cool. So that's the A tag, fairly simple one. Now we can do something more interesting. We can finally work with an image. Okay, what do you need for an image? Okay, I've got a GIF saved on my computer, all right? The GIF is saved right here. You don't have to reference an image that is saved on your computer. It can be any reference that you have a resource locator for, okay? Any image that you can have the resource locator for can be displayed in this tag. So for example, they have this nice GIF here on Wikipedia. So you can do this in Google Images or wherever you want. If you open up an image like this and say open image in new tab, the goal here, we're trying to get to something like this, where the end of the URL, the uniform resource locator, is a path specifically to the image I'm looking for. So you see this says sorting _ quicksort _ anim.gif. Okay, this URL is specifically for this GIF. Okay, specifically. So I can use this URL to reference an image inside my HTML document, inside my hypertext document. Okay, so how will I do that? I'm just going to save the URL over here. So inside the text documents, I'm just going to come here and save the URL just so that it's there. I'll remove it later. It's just for laziness. But I do want to show you guys that if you forget how to do this, I know how to do this now because obviously I prepared the lesson. But usually you're not going to remember every single little thing, okay? And you mustn't worry about that. There's a lot of different tags in HTML. You should remember the big ones when we go into the exam, like image, A, P, body, head, title. You must know what these mean. But every single little tag, when you're actually programming in HTML, you'll never remember all of them. There are many, which is why we have cheat sheets. Okay, so this is how the image tag works. There's a very convenient example here that I could just copy. We're not going to copy now, but it's good to know that these kinds of things exist. Okay, so I'm just going to load that QuickSort GIF here. I know the title of our page is Smurf GIF, but I'm mixing it up. Okay, so we can say, how do we create an image? We use an image tag. It is IMG. Okay, IMG, they left out the A and the E. Most browsers will understand the image tag as well. Okay, if you write out image in fill, but you guys should learn it as IMG. Okay, this is the standard that most people use and will understand. Okay. So you literally just say IMG. Okay, you need to give the source of the image that you want to display. And I'm going to specify the source to my image as a string. Okay. There's also an annoying little exception with images. You can close the image tag. It's not going to break anything. So you can put the /image there, just in the interest of neatness. And I do usually do that. But you don't actually need to with this tag specifically. You don't have to specify a closing tag, okay, for the image. The reason for that is because images are usually displayed in a fairly, responsive way all over the place, and finding a closing tag is not really helping the templating at all. You'll see that the image kind of morphs around text as it is. So this is a hyperlink, Christian. So it's like linking to another place. I'll write out what the template is. So you'll say href equals the string. So in here you would put the link, the URL, sorry, the underscore URL, and what you want displayed, So it works something like that. I'll show you in our code now though, actually, it might be easier to understand. So you see QuickSort, oh, and we are running out of time, but let's finish this. So you see QuickSort here, I've put inside the A tag. Okay, cool, you get it. So QuickSort, I put inside the A tag, so it's hyperlinked, okay? And if you click that link, it takes you to whatever's specified in the href. It's almost like a simple button, almost. It's basically a simple button. And you can actually use the A tag to create buttons, but we'll get to that later, maybe. Cool. So let me, okay, cool, refresh. You just make sure that it's working. It has to be a public URL as well. Maybe we should stick to our Smurf GIF quick. Let me see. How did I do it here? View page ref on the Shrek GIF. Let me try with this GIF instead. Ah, it did work for you. Okay, I don't know why mine's not loading. Weird. Did I type something wrong is all I can think. Maybe I typed the URL wrong or something. Yeah, thanks. I'll copy your code. That helps. Okay, you used image as well. Okay. Ah, there you go. It works now. Cool. So you see we've got a GIF now. So that's quite cool. I am going to use my Smurf GIF just to show you. So it can be any resource, right? As long as it can find it. Browsers are very clever nowadays. And so any resource you have. So this Smurf GIF is saved on my computer. So it's at a specific path on my computer. So I can go and find that path. So it's at home, Joshua, desktop, work, Crawford site. So I'm going to copy paste that long URL. And I'll say, I'm going to put that there instead. I think the Smurf GIF is quite cool. So I'll put that there. It's in assets, and it's called smurf.gif. So I'll just make sure that the site is sticking to the original plan. Ah, it didn't find it. Let me just make sure I spelled everything correctly. Oh, I spelled assets wrong when I named the thing. So it's actually assets. And there we go. There's the Smurf GIF. Cool. The name of the folder is not assets, it's assets. Not sure why I made that mistake, but whatever. Cool. So there we go. I've got it's working. So we've learned a few tags. Number one, if you're asked, how do we load an image into a tag? We use an image tag. Okay, I think A tag is used for hyperlinks, P tag for paragraphs, body for defining the body of the site, title. Remember this, guys. So we used head to define the title. This can be for a lot of other information. So just to end the lesson on this so that we can conclude with HTML and we can start with CSS next week because we'll continue working with these same documents. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Alex. That's cool. And let me just show you. So you can see this is what a normal head tag will look like on most websites. You see that has a lot of stuff in it, right? It has links, it has meta names. You can see that, so sites will have descriptions. Like if you link someone a site, like if you link them the YouTube sites, it'll open up YouTube and it'll have, oh, cool, yeah. So if you open up YouTube, it'll have like a bunch of descriptions, right? Like this is where you can share videos and stuff like that. So that kind of thing is all specified in the header, okay? any information that the browser or the user needs that is not displayed on the page will be displayed in the header tag. And like this one, right? So meta char set 8 UTF-8, that's a very common thing to put in your header right here, just so that everyone understands that the encoding that this document should be saved with. If you put meta char set equals UTF-8 in the header, that will mean that all operating systems and stuff will understand what you're using, and browsers, right? So there's a bunch of other things that could go in the header tag. We cannot cover these things exhaustively. By the way, meta means about something, okay, or like about. So yeah, there's lots of places where the word meta is used, right? How do you get the path to the GIF? The one that's saved on my own computer. Sorry, I'm just gonna show this. So just go to it, hit properties on it. It'll be a little bit different on Windows, but quite similar. Hit properties, and somewhere in the thing that pops up, there'll be like a whole long path that you'll be able to copy. It'll come up somewhere. It'll be slightly different on a Windows computer, but like on a Windows computer, it might open something like this at the top here, like something you can't copy. But if you double click it, it might allow you to copy it. Tell me if it works for you. If not, then we can see. Okay, yeah, but I have used all your time now, and it is weekend. So I won't, well, Friday night. So I won't use up too much extra time. We'll finish off with CSS and JS and stuff next week. We will, I think there was some getting started pains today because it wasn't working for everyone. But now that it works, we'll be able to get through the rest of chapter 4 quicker. Cool. Yeah, you too. Yeah, probably Amilcar. That's a very safe prediction. Cheers, everyone.
So have a good weekend. Thanks.
Yeah, you too. Cheers.
Thank you, sir.